And as you know that there's more to you than just this body and this ego that is in that body, you recognize, I am a divine being, and this highest part of myself is where I want to begin my efforts at becoming a manifester. And here are just a few suggestions that I would recommend you do on a daily basis to get you to the place where you can learn to live from this highest self. The first of these is, whenever you're about to act, to do anything, if you have any conflict at all, you can ask yourself the question, is what I'm about to say, is what I'm about to do going to bring me peace, more peace in my life, or is it going to bring a sense of turmoil? Is there going to be some struggle, some anxiety as a result of what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do? If the answer is peace, then it's your highest self. If the answer is turmoil, struggle, anxiety, stress, then the answer is your ego. So now you've identified, and now you know how to act. The way to act is with the way that will bring you peace. Even if it seems inconsistent, the way to act is the way that will bring you peace. The second thing to do is to start to learn to go beyond this restriction that you've experienced in the physical plane. The restrictions of the physical plane are many. Begin to say, I can transcend that. In your mind, begin to look at yourself as living in that physical plane, but that's not who you are. So figure out ways in your own consciousness to just get past all of these limitations that are a part of your body and your world. The third is, wherever you go, refuse to defend yourself to anyone or to anything on the earth plane. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to prove yourself. You can just quietly be an effective human being and not get yourself into that position where you're arguing with someone over the rightness of how you feel. Just let go of that. And the higher part of you is saying, I want peace. I want peace. It's always there. Keep that in mind. And finally, learn to surrender and to trust in that wisdom that created you. The act of surrendering is letting go. Once you surrender and once you let go, you find yourself a whole lot freer in your life. This air that you're breathing is very friendly. This fire that keeps you warm, this sun that keeps you warm, it's very friendly. And so is the grass that you walk upon, and so is the snow that falls down, and so is the rain. Everything about the universe is supportive of you. So see it as a friendly place, rather than a place that is conspiring against you. You are not an organism in this environment. You are an organism/environment. You cannot be disconnected from it ever. So honoring that and recognizing that in your manifestation process, the work that you are doing to attract to yourself that which you desire in your life, you are really manifesting something that you are already a part of. You're just bringing into your world space that which is already you. So the way to put this principle to work in your life, here are a few suggestions that I would make, is first to make a conscious effort to check yourself when you begin to think in ways that reflect your separateness. When you start seeing something and telling yourself that, I'm not connected to that, or I can kill this, or I can move that, and it won't make any difference. And what difference does it make anyway if we cut down all of these trees or whatever? Begin to see yourself as someone who is connected to everything in your universe, and that divine force that flows through you also is flowing through all of that. Second thing I would do is to just contemplate the energy that is your life force. This thing that keeps you alive, that is you in the first place. It's not that bone and gristle and blood and all of that you are looking at. It is something that is invisible, that is within you, and it is also in all of those things that you see in your environment. I would also begin to practice being gentle and respectful and loving toward the life force, not just in yourself, but in all things. And being respectful of it reminds you that you are in some way connected to it, so that by being kind to others, you are also being kind to yourself. There's something very much truthful in the notion that we are the world. It's more than just a clever song title. It really reflects that we all are a part of everything in this world, that none of us can be disconnected from it. I would also, again, determine that I would spend some time each day alone and in silence, meditating on this principle. And you repeat that affirmation, I am not an organism in an environment. I am an environ-organism. I am connected to it all. And just remind yourself of that. Also, I would make the space of my life as sacred as I possibly can, have as much beauty and sacredness in all things that show up in my life. Each and every one of us really do reflect the totality of humanity. We are all just little slivers in this whole conglomeration called humanity, and that when you take one of us and put a laser beam through it, just like on your credit card, it reflects the whole, and each one of us reflects that whole.
There is a quiet place within you that has never moved, never chased, never feared, and never doubted. It is not stirred by applause, nor silenced by rejection. It is not confused by your pain, nor distracted by your plans. It does not race ahead or fall behind. This place, this sacred stillness is your soul, and it waits for you. The mind is a wanderer, a traveler with no map and too many destinations. It clings to clocks and calendars, forecasts and fears. It builds futures from memory and past from imagination. It thrives on noise. It is addicted to answers, yet it rarely pauses to ask the real questions. It fills your inner world with commentary, comparison, and concern, all in the name of safety, identity, and progress. But what it truly fears is stillness. Because in stillness, the mind loses its throne. In silence, the ego becomes transparent. And when all the stories fade, you are faced with what has always been the radiant presence of the soul, undisturbed, eternal, whole. The soul is never lost. You are never disconnected. What happens is simpler than all the narratives your mind spins to explain the ache inside. The mind wanders and the soul waits. It waits not in judgment, but in love. It doesn't punish you for your detours, your distractions, your dramas. It does not label your delay as failure. The soul is the great witness, the candle that never goes out, no matter how dark the mind storms become. And when you tire of searching, when you finally grow weary of being everything for everyone, it is there quietly glowing, saying, "Welcome home." You see, your suffering is not the result of the world. It is not the fault of your past or the flaws you believe you carry. Your suffering comes from identification, from believing you are the noise in your mind rather than the light in your being. The mind says, "You are broken, so fix." The soul says, "You are whole, remember." The mind screams, "Run faster, try harder, control more." The soul whispers, "Be still." The mind asks, "Who am I?" in their eyes. The soul asks, "Who am I?" without their eyes. And so the great journey of awakening is not about adding more knowledge, more success, more achievements. It is about subtracting what never belonged to you. It is not about becoming someone, but unbecoming the false ideas that kept you from being. The soul does not shout because it does not need to. Truth never argues with illusion. Light does not battle the dark, it simply shines, and the dark disappears. Your soul does not need to win your attention. It simply waits until you exhaust your addiction to wandering. And oh, how we wander. We wander through roles and titles, forgetting that identity is not essence. We wander through relationships, hoping to find in another what we've forgotten within. We wander through religions and philosophies, mistaking the finger pointing to the moon for the moon itself. We wander through time, trying to resurrect the past or rehearse the future, yet missing the only place the soul lives, now. You cannot arrive where you already are. You cannot earn what you already embody. You cannot chase what has never left you. But the mind will try. It is a master of distractions dressed as desires. It tells you, just one more goal, just one more apology, just one more dollar, one more compliment, one more answer, and then you'll be okay. But your soul does not play that game. It already knows you are okay. Not in the way the world defines it, not in the way the mind demands it, but in a higher, deeper, everlasting sense. You are okay because you are a spark of the infinite. You are okay because you are not the noise. You are the silence behind it. You are okay because you are not the body that breaks or the thoughts that change. You are the awareness that holds them both. But don't expect the mind to applaud this revelation. It thrives on urgency. It fears peace because peace makes it irrelevant. It cannot control what it cannot understand, and it cannot understand what it cannot divide. The soul cannot be divided. It is not part of you, it is what you are. Your mind is a tool, sharp, fast, necessary, but it was never meant to drive the vehicle. It was meant to serve the heart, not rule the being. When the mind leads, you end up exhausted, even when you succeed. When the soul leads, there is rest, even in motion. There is clarity, even amidst uncertainty. There is love, even in the presence of pain. The mind collects. The soul releases. The mind tries to define you. The soul invites you to dissolve into the undefinable. The mind wants answers. The soul becomes the question. What if the peace you're seeking is not found in changing your life, but in changing your relationship to your thoughts? What if your inner war ends the moment you stop believing every fearful thing your mind tells you? What if the path back to joy is not a climb, but a surrender? Surrender, not as weakness, but as alignment. Not as giving up, but as waking up. Surrender to this moment, to this breath, to this eternal now, where the soul waits in quiet presence. Where nothing needs to be fixed, solved, or figured out, only felt, only allowed, only witnessed. In this sacred space, miracles are not performed, they are remembered. You are not here to become something other than what you are. You are here to realize what you've never stopped being. The soul never left. It's just been patiently waiting for the mind to stop chasing clouds and notice the sky. The sky that has always held you, the sky that never fought the storm yet never lost its nature. You don't need more time to be free. You need less mind to notice you already are. Let the mind wander, if it must, but don't follow it. Witness it, the way you would watch leaves float down a stream. Let them pass. You are not the leaf. You are not the stream. You are the stillness beneath the current, the spaciousness behind the motion. You are not what moves. You are what allows movement. And in that realization, something within you will break beautifully. The grip will loosen, the story will soften. And for the first time, perhaps in years, you'll feel it. That quiet radiance, that sacred presence, that home you never truly left. The soul was never impatient. It knew this moment would come. It knew that one day, after all the proving and pushing and pretending, you would fall to your knees, not in despair, but in awe, in surrender, in remembrance. And when you do, the soul does not say, "Where have you been?" It says, "I've been here all along." Because it never needed you to change, it only waited for you to see. And so the return begins not in lightning strikes or grand awakenings, but in the simple turning of attention inward, in the pause between thoughts, in the breath you didn't notice you were holding. In the moment, you finally allow yourself to stop running, not because the world has quieted, but because you have. There is no need to chase enlightenment, as if it were some distant treasure buried beneath lifetimes of mistakes. It is here, now, humming beneath the surface of your striving. It is in the stillness between your words. It is in the space behind your eyes. It is in the warmth you feel when you stop bracing against life and allow it to wash through you like a river returning to the ocean. The soul does not speak in volume. It speaks in presence. It does not compete for your attention because it knows it cannot be erased, only ignored, and even your ignorance of it cannot diminish its truth. The soul is not altered by your forgetting. It is only hidden behind the clouds of your becoming. But becoming is the way of the mind always trying to become and never quite satisfied with simply being. The mind wants to arrive, the soul wants to dissolve. The mind says, I am not enough yet. The soul whispers, you were never less than divine. And that whisper is all it takes, a single silent breath of eternity breaking through the illusion of separation. One moment of deep remembering, and lifetimes of fear begin to fade like shadows at sunrise. You do not need to fix the noise. You only need to return to the silence beneath it. You do not need to control your thoughts. You need only to stop obeying them. Can you feel it now? That subtle warmth in your chest when you let go of trying to understand everything? That sacred exhale when you stop negotiating with your pain and simply sit beside it as a friend who needs no explanation? That is the soul. That is the home your mind forgot it had. There is no need to punish the mind for wandering. It is what it does. It was shaped by the world to do so. It learned early that love must be earned, that safety must be managed, that joy must be delayed. But none of that was true. It was merely inherited, a costume passed down from ancestors too tired to question the script. But you are here now, awake enough to feel the costume tightening, aware enough to know that what you've been calling you is mostly habit, brave enough to shed the mask, even if only for a moment, and feel the vastness underneath. The soul has always been vast. It is not interested in your resume. It does not measure worth by performance. It does not care how much money you have, how many followers approve of your image, or how many tasks you completed before sunrise. The soul is only interested in one thing, your freedom, not external freedom, but the kind that cannot be revoked, the freedom to be yourself without apology, without disguise, without fear. When the mind runs, the soul waits. It waits like an ancient tree, unmoving, unjudging, deeply rooted in eternal presence. It does not beg you to return. It knows you will. Because no matter how far the mind wanders, it always tires of its own noise. Eventually, the seeking becomes heavy, the striving turns hollow, and the soul, ever still, becomes magnetic. Not because it changes, but because you finally remember how good it feels to come home. That is the true miracle, not transformation, but remembrance. To remember who you were before the world taught you to forget. To remember what it feels like to live without needing permission. To laugh without waiting for the right moment. To cry without justification. To love without walls. You do not need to heal by fixing yourself. You heal by letting go of what was never truly you. The false identities, the limiting stories, the inherited fears, these are not your soul's language. They are the noise the mind learned to speak in a world that had forgotten how to listen. But you can listen again, you can tune back in, you can place your hand on your heart and feel what never left you. The soul waits not in the future, not in the next accomplishment, but right here in the stillness between this breath and the next. The mind will argue. It will insist that stillness is laziness, that presence is unproductive, that peace is earned only after every box is checked. But the soul laughs not with mockery, but with love. Because the soul knows that your worth is not a goal to achieve. It is a truth to reclaim. And when you do, when you stop trying to earn rest, and simply rest when you stop searching for proof, and instead allow yourself to feel when you stop waiting for a better version of yourself, and start embracing this very moment as sacred, something shifts. You begin to hear the soul's voice again. Not as thunder, but as wind. Not as command, but as clarity. Not as pressure, but as permission. You begin to move differently, not out of fear, but out of alignment. Not chasing, but allowing. Not performing, but expressing. And life, which once felt like a battle, begins to feel like a dance. You start to see the world not as an enemy to conquer, but as a mirror reflecting your beliefs, your wounds, your longing to awaken. Every challenge becomes an invitation. Every loss becomes a letting go. Every silence becomes a sanctuary. And in this sacred awareness, you stop reacting and start responding. Because you are no longer a victim of your thoughts. You are the observer, the witness. The vast space in which thought arises and falls like waves on an infinite ocean. And the ocean does not fear the waves. It simply holds them all. The joy, the sorrow, the longing, the grace. The ocean is not afraid of the storm because it knows the storm will pass. It knows that nothing can touch its depth. You are that depth. You are not your thoughts. You are the one aware of your thoughts. You are not your roles, your wounds, or your history. You are the awareness in which all of these things unfold. When the mind forgets, the soul remembers. When the mind doubts, the soul knows. When the mind contracts, the soul expands. And no matter how long you forget or how far you drift, the soul does not lose patience. It does not shame you. It simply waits with infinite grace for the moment you remember. And so the question is not, how do I find my soul? The question is, what am I willing to let go of so I can see it again? Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the belief that your worth must be proven. Let go of the story that healing must look like strength. Let go of the idea that you must do more to be more. The soul waits for your return, not through effort, but through surrender. And in surrender, you don't lose control. You lose the illusion that you ever needed it. You begin to trust life again. Not blindly, but deeply. Not as a plan to execute, but as a mystery to be embraced. You start to listen to the inner pull that defies logic, but feels like truth. You begin to speak less from memory and more from presence. You stop performing peace and start embodying it. And you realize the mind was never the enemy. It was just scared. It was taught to protect you by controlling everything. But now, the soul is here to teach you another way, a way of trust, of flow, of coming back to the moment where everything already exists. Let the mind wander, it will. But know this, you no longer have to follow. Stay with the soul, stay with the breath, stay with the moment. And in that stillness, you will find what you've been seeking all along, not outside you, but as you. You begin to realize that freedom is not the absence of challenges, it is the absence of identification with them. The wind still blows, the storms still pass. The world still moves in cycles of gain and loss, joy and grief, love and letting go. But you remain grounded, not in outcomes, but in awareness. This is the subtle power of the soul. It does not shield you from life, it opens you to it. It does not eliminate pain, it transforms your relationship with it. And in that transformation, you begin to touch the sacred truth beneath every wound, that nothing is wasted, and everything is here to bring you home to yourself. Even your wandering has meaning. Even your forgetting has purpose. The detour is part of the design, for without the mind's noise, how would you recognize the soul's silence? Without the ache of disconnection, how would you treasure the sweetness of remembrance? Without the illusion, how would you ever awaken to the truth? And the truth is this, you were never broken. You only believed you were. You were never alone. You only thought you were. You were never less than whole. You only forgot how to see it. The soul has never once doubted your light, only waited for you to stop dimming it for the comfort of others. You do not owe anyone your dimming. You were not born to be digestible. You were born to be radiant, to be real, to be rooted in the unwavering knowing of who and what you are. A divine expression of a limitless source, choosing to experience itself in human form, and in that form there is forgetting, but there is also remembering, and every moment is an invitation to return. You return through presence, through breath, through compassion, first for yourself, then for all things. You return by forgiving yourself for believing the lies the world sold you, that your worth depended on performance, that your body defined your beauty, that your pain disqualified your power. None of that is real. What is real cannot be taken from you. What is real lies beneath the labels. It shines through your eyes when you're not trying to impress anyone. It pulses in your chest when you tell the truth. Even when your voice shakes, it reveals itself not when you're perfect, but when you're present. And the more present you become, the more you notice how much of your life has been lived in reaction. Not from your soul, but from your wounds. Trying to prove you're enough. Trying to avoid rejection. Trying to hold together the image of someone who's okay, even when you're breaking inside. But breaking is not a failure. It is a doorway. It is what happens when the armor you've outgrown begins to crack. It is the sound of your soul reminding you that you were not meant to live inside a prison of expectations. And so the cracks appear, and through them, light pours in. The light doesn't ask for credentials. It does not request your resume of suffering or success. It enters the moment you stop resisting it, and it begins to show you the truth that your mind could never fully grasp. That you are not here to be fixed, you are here to be freed. Freed from the tyranny of your own thoughts. Freed from the identity built on wounds. Freed from the voice that says, you must become, when the soul already knows, you already are. And in this freedom, you rediscover a sacred simplicity. Life begins to breathe through you, not because you're trying, but because you've stopped obstructing it. Peace returns. Not because you fought for it, but because you stopped insisting it come a certain way. Love emerges not as a transaction, but as your natural state. Because love is what you are when the stories fall away. And when you live from that place, not sometimes, but consistently, courageously, everything changes. Not necessarily outside, but inside. Your reactions become responses. Your fear becomes clarity. Your protection becomes openness. Your life becomes less about managing and more about allowing. Allowing yourself to feel what you feel, allowing others to be where they are without needing to control them. Allowing life to unfold without demanding that it bend to your will. This is not passivity, this is trust. This is alignment. This is what it means to walk with the soul, leading the way, to move not from fear, but from knowing. And when the mind wanders, because it will, you do not shame it. You simply return. Gently, quietly, with compassion. Again and again and again. Until returning becomes your practice. Until presence becomes your path. Until you no longer confuse your thoughts with yourself. The mind will tell you, this is too slow. The soul knows, this is eternal. The mind will scream, what if it all falls apart? The soul whispers, let it. What is real will remain. The mind will say, you must do more. The soul says, you must remember. And when you remember, you don't rise as someone new, you rise as someone true. That is the purpose of this path. Not to escape life, but to enter it fully from the center of your being. Not to deny the world, but to meet it with eyes that see beyond form. Not to reach enlightenment as a destination, but to embody it moment by moment, breath by breath, as your natural state. The soul waits not at the top of the mountain, but at the base of your breath. Not in some distant afterlife, but in the heartbeat you keep ignoring. Not in perfection, but in presence. So let the mind wander. Let it dream, worry, narrate, and debate. Let it dance its dance. But do not follow unless it serves your peace. Instead, turn inward. Listen. Breathe. And find, again and again, the place within that never moved. The mind wanders. The soul waits, and in your stillness they meet. There is a sacred intelligence in stillness, one the mind cannot calculate. It is not the stillness of doing nothing, it is the stillness of being everything. It is the awareness that does not rush, because it already contains the entire moment. It is the spaciousness behind every movement, the quiet behind every word, the presence beneath every heartbeat. When you begin to live from this place, your life ceases to be a reaction to circumstances. It becomes a reflection of consciousness. You are no longer chasing the external to soothe the internal. You are no longer bargaining with the universe to feel worthy. You simply are. Whole. Now. Enough. And in this state of being, something miraculous happens. Life begins to mirror your alignment. Not always in ways the mind expects, but always in ways the soul recognizes. You stop attracting lessons to wake you up because you are already awake. You stop calling in chaos to force you to surrender because you are already surrendered. You stop seeking from lack and start allowing from abundance. This is the essence of creation, not effort, but alignment. Not struggle, but surrender to the truth that you already carry within. You are not here to prove your power. You are here to remember it. Because true power is not domination, it is embodiment. It is not force, it is presence. It is not loud, it is rooted. And it flows naturally when the mind bows to the soul, when the wandering surrenders to the waiting. The soul is not interested in outcomes. It is concerned only with truth. It does not ask, what can I get? But what can I be? And in being, everything is already included. You were not born to be a prisoner of your mind. You were born to be a portal for grace. And grace is not earned, it is allowed. It flows through the cracks of your surrender. It enters when the guards of your ego grow weary. It does not knock, it does not shout. It waits just like the soul, patiently, lovingly, faithfully. There is no punishment in the delay, only invitation. Every moment you spend wandering is another moment preparing your return. Every illusion chased makes the truth more vibrant when you finally see it. And so the game is not to defeat the mind, it is to transcend it. Not to banish thought, but to see thought for what it is. A ripple on the surface of the ocean, never touching the depth. You are that depth. Not the mask you wear to be liked. Not the voice you mimic to be accepted. Not the pain you carry as proof of your strength. You are the timeless, eternal presence in which all things arise and dissolve. You are the still point in a turning world. And the more you rest in that awareness, the more life simplifies. Not because the outer becomes easier, but because the inner becomes clear. You stop resisting what is. You stop grasping for what isn't. You stop apologizing for being you. Because the soul does not apologize, it only shines. And when you align with that radiance, your presence becomes medicine. Not because you fix others, but because your very being becomes a permission slip for them to remember their own. There is no greater gift you can give the world than your own remembrance. Not through performance, but through presence. Not through convincing, but through embodying. So pause, breathe, feel. Feel the place inside you that has never been wounded, never been afraid, never been separate. Feel the space behind your thoughts, the silence underneath your name. Feel the peace that arises not from control, but from surrender. Feel the soul that never left, only waited. Waited for you to stop searching for light outside of yourself. Waited for you to stop earning love that has always been yours. Waited for you to stop pretending, performing, defending, and finally just be. The mind wanders. The soul waits. But the moment you remember, they unite, and you are no longer divided. You are no longer seeking. You are no longer waiting. You are home. And now, you arrive at the place you never truly left, the sacred center of your being. You don't arrive through effort. You don't arrive by conquering the mind or mastering some higher plane. You arrive by remembering, by releasing, by finally laying down the heavy need to understand it all. This is the quiet miracle. That home was never somewhere you had to go. It was always where you are, always beneath the noise, always beneath the names and labels and plans. The soul has never once abandoned you, only waited for your return with the gentleness of a dawn that does not rush and the strength of a mountain that does not move. And maybe that's the point. Not to run faster or try harder or dig deeper, but to become still enough to feel what has always been present, to soften enough to let the light in, to trust enough to let go. The mind will not stop offering its stories. Let it. The world will not stop moving. Bless it. But you are learning to be the one who watches, the one who witnesses, the one who lives from the sacred now where nothing is missing. Because nothing ever was. Your worth is not a question to be answered. It is a truth to be lived. Your peace is not a goal to be earned. It is a frequency to return to. And your soul is not a destination. It is the stillness within your very breath, here, now, whispering, you are already what you seek. So breathe. Let the moment hold you. Let the presence carry you. Let the wandering settle into waiting, and the waiting into knowing. And in that knowing, walk gently through this life, not as someone trying to become, but as someone who remembers, not as a seeker, but as a presence, not as a fixer, but as a light, because you are no longer chasing truth. You are living it, and the soul is no longer waiting. It is finally walking with you. Home, always, now, forever. There is a great illusion that quietly governs so many lives. A silent myth we inherit, not through conscious choice, but through the habitual repetition of thought. And that myth is this, that the past, the wake behind us, somehow determines where we are headed. That the trail we leave, the mistakes we've made, the wounds we carry, the identities we've assumed, these are the engines of our future. But let us begin this moment, this breath, with a radical truth. The wake does not drive the boat. Close your eyes if you can. Feel the energy of that statement, not just with your ears, but with your being. The wake is nothing more than a trail of disturbed water. It is the evidence of where you've been, not the force that carries you forward. The engine is now, the rudder is choice, and the sea ahead is untouched, limitless, unconcerned with what lies behind. The ego, however, lives in reverse. It worships history. It tells you that who you were is who you must be. It reminds you again and again of what hurt, what failed, what was said, what was done, and it sells you the lie that these echoes determine your destiny. But the soul, the soul is not interested in echoes. The soul speaks in whispers of potential, not the noise of regret. It nudges you forward, always forward, never backward. You are not your story. You are not your name. You are not your wounds. You are not the patterns of your parents, nor the failures of your youth. You are not your mistakes, nor are you your achievements. You are not even your thoughts. You are the awareness behind it, all the vast, infinite presence that watches the play of memory without becoming it. We must awaken to this. No amount of looking behind you will ever steer you forward. No amount of regret will ever open the gates of freedom. You are here, now. And this moment, this sacred, unrepeatable now, is your access point to power. The divine does not live in your memories. The divine lives in the aliveness of presence. Let go of the identity that was constructed from the past. It is not your truth. It is merely a shell, a costume, a temporary role played in the theater of time. You are not here to repeat scenes. You are here to awaken, to remember the eternal, changeless spirit that you are, to return to the knowing that you are more than the circumstances you've survived. Imagine a boat gliding across the water, behind it, a churning white trail. That is the wake chaotic, visible, but utterly powerless to move the vessel forward. If you were to ask, what makes the boat move? Would you point to the wake? No. You would point to the engine, and the engine is within you. It is your thoughts, your focus, your choice to return to the present. It is your decision to drop the heavy bags of resentment, blame, and shame, and instead lift your hands to the sky of possibility. And yet, how many of us live as if the wake has control? We say, I can't love fully because I was abandoned. I can't succeed because I failed before. I can't forgive because I was hurt. But hear this, these are not facts. These are decisions dressed as conclusions. And any decision made in fear can be unmade in love. Forgiveness is not for the past. Forgiveness is freedom from it. And when you truly understand that the wake does not drive the boat, you will no longer be chained to what was. You will begin, finally, to live what is. The mind, when left untrained, is like a boat without a captain drifting wherever the winds of memory take it. But your soul, your higher self, is the captain. It is the still point of clarity. And when you surrender the illusion of control, the illusion of certainty, the illusion of being right, something miraculous happens. You begin to glide through life with grace. This is not passivity. This is power. It is the sacred power of surrender, not surrendering to defeat, but surrendering to truth. And the truth is, the past cannot be changed, but your relationship to it can. The past is not your prison. It is your teacher. But you must stop worshiping it as if it is your identity. Release the need to retell the story of your pain. Drop the need to explain your limitations. Let go of being the victim, the struggler, the one who almost made it. These identities are just anchors in the water. The moment you untie from them, you sail. You were never meant to drag your history into every present moment. Life is not asking you to carry your old self. It is asking you to rise, to evolve, to awaken to the beauty that is here, now, always. What if today you stopped rehearsing your regrets? What if today you refused to be defined by your suffering? What if today you looked at your wake, the broken pieces, the sorrow, the lost time, and you whispered, thank you for the lessons. Now I choose to move on. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is spiritual responsibility. It takes courage to move forward without dragging the past behind you like a worn-out coat. But I promise you, freedom lives on the other side of that release. You cannot sail to a new shore if you are anchored in a harbor of pain. You cannot hear the voice of your soul if you are always listening to the echoes of yesterday. And you cannot create a life of joy if you are addicted to the narrative of suffering. You are not here to be a historian of your wounds. You are here to be a creator of healing, a builder of beauty, a vessel for peace. You are not the storm. You are the ocean, vast, deep, unshaken. Let go of the fear that if you release the past, you'll lose who you are. That fear is a lie. You will not lose yourself. You will meet yourself maybe for the first time. You will meet the self that was never broken, never small, never lacking. The self that existed before the story, before the wound, before the name. That self is not moved by opinion, not confined by time, not disturbed by change. It is divine. It is eternal. And it is you. You've been taught to identify with the marks left by life, the scars, the memories, the bruises of time. But I invite you now to shift your gaze. Look not at what happened, but at what is emerging. The wake is gone, the present is alive, and your soul is ready. You can choose to live with the engine of your awareness fully ignited, charting a course that is not dictated by fear, but inspired by love. Or you can keep looking behind you, hoping that certainty lies in the familiar. But hear me now. What is familiar is not always what is true. And what is true is that you are free. You are free to release the guilt, free to forgive yourself, free to step out of the costume you've worn for so long and say, I am ready to return to the truth of who I am. And who you are is not the wake, it is the wave, it is the wind, it is the witness to it all. Do you know what the wake truly represents? It is not only your past actions, it is also your past reactions, your interpretations, your judgments, your internal dialogues about what occurred. The past is not just what happened, it's what you told yourself about what happened. And that narrative is what keeps so many souls bound to sorrow. But here's a powerful truth. Interpretations can be changed, and when they are, the emotional chain to the past dissolves. You can look back and see betrayal, or you can look back and see the unraveling of illusions. You can see rejection, or you can see redirection. You can see failure, or you can see refinement. This is not delusion, it is perception infused with wisdom. It is choosing to see with the eyes of the soul rather than the lens of the ego. The ego clings to wounds as proof of identity, but the soul sees every event as a stepping stone, not a gravestone. We are not here to preserve the past. We are here to be transformed by the now. There's a moment subtle but holy when you realize you can drop the rope that's tied to that thing someone said. That event that didn't go as planned, that year you lost yourself. That version of you who didn't know better, you can drop the rope and you will not fall. You will float, you will rise. It is your clinging that weighs you down, not the past itself. The past is done, the moment has passed. But the clinging, the retelling, the recycling, that is what creates the heaviness. So the question becomes, are you willing to travel light? Are you willing to walk into this new moment without dragging every yesterday behind you like a sack of broken mirrors? Are you willing to speak to your own heart and say, I forgive you, not because you did everything right, but because I no longer want to live in punishment? Forgiveness is not weak. Forgiveness is the highest expression of spiritual strength. It is the power to say, I remember, but I no longer suffer. It is the ability to step into your life without the story dragging at your heels. It is looking into the eyes of your reflection and seeing someone who has grown, not someone who has failed. If the wake does not drive the boat, then let us stop looking behind us when we steer. Let us stop consulting old pain for new direction. Let us stop returning to the scene of the wound and calling it home. The soul lives in forward motion. The soul does not repeat. It evolves. It flows like a river that does not apologize for its path. It does not ask permission to continue. It simply follows the pull of gravity, the gravity of truth, and that gravity is pulling you now away from fear, away from shame, away from blame, and toward the infinite sea of who you truly are. Can you feel that pull? It's quiet. It's not the loud voice that says you should have known better or you'll never be enough. That's the voice of the conditioned mind. The voice of old programming, the voice that got its instructions from a society more invested in conformity than consciousness. The real voice, the voice of the self, does not shout. It whispers. It says, you are already free. You just have to stop telling the story of why you're not. There is no salvation in the story. There is only freedom in the surrender. Let go. Not in theory, not as an idea, but in this moment, right now, breathe in, let go of who you were. Breathe out, let go of who they were. Let it all dissolve like mist in morning light. The moment you let go, you are reborn. The moment you choose to bless the wake instead of curse it, you begin to rise. Because the wake has no more power over you than you give it. You are not a victim of your history. You are the creator of your destiny. But destiny is not written in memory, it is written in movement. And movement requires release. Release the need to understand everything that happened. The ego is obsessed with explanation. It wants to know why they left, why you failed, why it broke, why it didn't go as planned. But the soul The soul knows that healing is not an equation. It's a letting go. It's a softening. It's a return to the now. Do you want to heal? Then stop rehearsing. Stop reliving. Stop waiting for closure from people who were never meant to complete you. Stop needing to know all the reasons. Life is not a courtroom. You are not on trial. You are free to walk out of the prison even if no one explains why you were locked up. Let go. Let go not because it erases what happened, but because it restores who you are. And who are you? You are awareness. You are peace. You are the witness of this moment. You are the presence that sees without judging, that loves without clinging, that breathes without resisting. You are not the character in the storm. You are the sky in which the storm happens. All pain is a resistance to the now. All suffering is a belief that this moment should be different. But when you stop resisting, the suffering ends. When you stop telling life it should have been another way, peace begins. This is the paradox. You gain control by letting go. You move forward by releasing. You arrive by no longer needing to arrive. You become whole by no longer seeking completion. There is nothing to fix. There is only something to remember. And what you must remember is that the wake is just water. It is not your identity. It is not your future. It is not your truth. You are the boat. You are the wind. You are the wave. And you are the captain. The choice is yours now, to continue pointing backward or to face the open sea with courage, to replay or to rebirth, to suffer or to soar. There is no right time. There is only right now. And now is always enough. There is a quiet revolution happening in your soul, a gentle rebellion against the tyranny of yesterday. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't wait for applause. It rises like the tide, invisible but unstoppable. It rises not to destroy the past, but to transcend it, to outgrow it, to say, thank you for the experience, but I am not staying there. You were never meant to live in reverse. The mind, conditioned by the ego, obsesses over past errors and future fears. But your soul, it lives in the sacred now. It whispers truth into the space between thoughts. And its message is always the same. Return to presence. Let go. Be still. You are already home. Why do we believe the past holds more truth than the present? Because we've been trained to measure life by memory, to believe that what happened is more real than what is happening. But reality is not in the mind's museum of yesterday. Reality is right here in the breath, in the beat of your heart, in the awareness reading these words. You do not have to carry the weight of old identities any longer. They are not who you are. They are who you thought you had to be to survive, to belong, to be accepted in a world that forgot how to see the soul. But you have remembered. You wouldn't be here listening if you hadn't. Something within you is stirring, cracking open. The truth of your being is emerging through the shell of your story. There are no justified resentments. Not because the pain wasn't real, but because your healing matters more than your history. You cannot drink poison and expect someone else to suffer. You cannot cling to bitterness and hope for joy to grow. You must become ruthless in your forgiveness, not for them, for you, so that you can be light again. Let go of the idea that people owe you closure. That is the language of ego. The soul knows that closure is not given, it is chosen. It is an inner declaration. I will no longer wait for the past to fix itself before I allow myself to be free. The wake does not drive the boat. It may ripple, it may roar, it may foam with the memories of 1,000 storms. But it cannot dictate your direction unless you turn to follow it. And why would you? When everything you've ever sought is in front of you, not behind you. Peace is here. Love is here. God is here. Not in the past, not in the future. Here. You've been taught that to change your life, you must work harder, try more, do better. But the truth is far more elegant. To change your life, you must change your relationship with thought. You must stop letting your mind bully your soul. You must return to the seat of your power, the stillness beneath it all. What if you simply stopped arguing with the past? What if you chose right now to bless it instead? What if you thanked every painful chapter for teaching you what love is not, so you could finally discover what love truly is? The wake cannot hurt you. It has no substance. It's made of movement, not matter. But when you replay it in your mind, when you rehearse the anger, the disappointment, the shame you give it form again, you breathe life into a ghost. And that ghost sits in the captain's chair and steers you toward more of the same. You are the captain. Reclaim the wheel. The mind may resist. It may say, but they were wrong, but I was hurt, but it's not fair. And that's okay. Let the mind protest, but do not let it lead. Let the thoughts come like birds, but do not build nests for them. Watch them fly and return to presence. Every day you carry your story is a day you delay your freedom. You are not bound by the events of your life. You are bound only by the meanings you've assigned to them. So revise the meaning. See your scars not as proof of suffering, but as evidence of survival. See your failures not as losses, but as sacred redirections. See your losses not as punishments, but as invitations to remember the impermanence of form. Everything that was taken from you has made space for what cannot be taken your soul. There is a deeper you that has never been touched by trauma, never bruised by betrayal, never lessened by lack. That self cannot be harmed. It is eternal, invisible, unshakable. And it is the you that drives the boat, if you let it. The wake may tell a story of brokenness, but the current of now, it flows with wholeness. It knows where to take you. It knows what you need. It knows how to heal you without your effort, without your analysis. It simply asks you to let go of control and trust the unfolding. This is the holy paradox. The moment you stop chasing healing, you begin to be healed. The moment you stop fixing yourself, you realize you were never broken. The moment you stop managing your life like a machine and start living it like a miracle, everything changes. Let it go. Let it all go. Not to forget, but to forgive. Not to ignore, but to transcend. Not to abandon, but to bless. And in that letting go, you will finally be carried. Not by effort, not by willpower, but by grace. Grace is the silent power that moves through your life when you stop trying to control the river. It is the divine GPS recalculating, rerouting, redeeming every moment you thought was wasted. Grace doesn't need a plan. It needs your permission. And when you say yes to now, grace floods in. It heals you in ways you never could have planned. It restores what you thought was lost. It rewrites the script in a language of peace. And all it asks is that you stop pretending the wake can lead you. So here you are, at the edge of yourself, not the self you've tried to protect or prove or polish, not the image you've curated to please the world or the narrative you've whispered to avoid discomfort, but the real you, the eternal, infinite, unburdened being you were before the story began. You've arrived not because you pushed harder, not because you fought your way here, but because something inside you stopped clinging. Something inside you chose the radical act of surrender. And in that surrender, you remembered the wake does not drive the boat. All along, the river was flowing. All along, grace was moving. All along, life was not punishing you, it was preparing you. And all along, you were already enough. You never had to drag your wounds like trophies. You never had to use your past as a passport. You never had to convince the world you deserved to move forward. You only had to remember you are the boat, not the wake. Let the tears come, if they come. Not as sorrow, but as cleansing. Not as grief, but as recognition. This is not the end. This is the return. This is the moment when the past unhooks from your spine and you stand finally without the weight of who you were. Feel it. The lightness, the spaciousness of this breath, the sacred silence between your thoughts. This is home, not the memories, not the names, not the explanations. This presence, this is who you are. You are not what happened. You are what remains. You are not the echo. You are the voice. You are not the history. You are the awareness watching it pass. You are not broken. You are the light that shines through the cracks. You are not the wake. You are the wind in the sails of now. And so I leave you with this. No matter what the world told you, you are free. No matter what your mind repeats, you are enough. No matter what happened before, the sacred now is untouched and it is yours. Go forward, not as someone trying to escape the past, but as someone who no longer needs it to feel real. Go forward, not as a survivor, but as a creator. Go forward, not because the wake is gone, but because you've stopped letting it lead. Sail now, not because you must, but because you can. Sail with trust, with openness, with grace. And when the past calls out to you, when it rises in the rear view like a familiar ghost, smile gently. Place your hand on your heart and say, I bless you, but I no longer follow you. Then turn your face toward the horizon, wide, wild, limitless, and step fully into the radiant now, because this is your time, and this is your truth, and this is your life. And finally, you remember the wake does not drive the boat.